Over the past year and a half, you and I have tracked the growth of the Mini, from its conception in the 1950s through its motorsport success to 1971 and the Mark III Mini Cooper S. But for the following 2 decades, there was no Mini Cooper. For the remainder of the 70s, it was British Leyland's economy car that continued to sell despite its age, though, as we've also seen, its future was much less certain in the 1980s. The Austin Metro had relegated the Mini into a niche, and Austin Rover very nearly killed off the car in 1987. But thanks to the Mini's enormous following and legendary status, the Mini once again, very gradually, became something of a fashion statement. People look back on their Minis with fondness, and Rover latched onto that with a raft of ever more unique special editions. But all people really wanted was the Cooper back. So today on TwinCam, this is the 1990 rebirth of the Mini Cooper. Before we begin, this car is currently for sale at Stockley Classics, so if it takes your fancy, then please do follow the link in the description. But before we get into the history and those 20 years of slumber for the Cooper badge, I think I need to state the importance of this particular car. This run of Coopers is directly responsible for the whole renaissance surrounding the Mini in the 1990s, starting the cogs turning that led to the very existence of the modern Mini. But in true TwinCam fashion, to understand why this was the case, we need to travel back to 1971. The existence of a quick Mini didn't end with the Mark III's we saw a few weeks ago. When the Mark III Mini was introduced in 1969, the standard 998cc Cooper was replaced by the 1275 GT, raising the power level slightly but simplifying the way the power was produced, fitting a single carburettor to lower production costs, and increasing engine reliability by using the bigger Cooper S displacement. The whole Cooper programme was costing British Leyland money, not just through warranty repairs and expensive components, but also because for every car produced, John Cooper was paid a royalty. So the 1275 GT solved 3 key issues, all while jazzing up the car with contemporary styling and decals, even if it wasn't quite Cooper S levels. Fast forward a decade to 1980 and the Mini range is severely pruned to make way for the Metro. Izagonis's little car was left with just one engine choice, a single carburettor 998 CCA series producing about 40 brake horsepower. On the other hand, the Metro did get the 1275, with power a couple of ponies up on the old GT, but in that range there wasn't an out-and-out sporting version. So along came John Cooper again. With the help of Janspeed, he developed a Metro Cooper, with the expected twin carburettors and pushing out about 80 brake horsepower. But unfortunately, BL was having none of it. Behind the scenes, they were planning the launch of their own hot Metro, and in May 1982, the MG Metro was born. It may have only had one carburettor, but with larger valves, a higher compression ratio and a lumpier camshaft, it was making 72 brake horsepower, very close to the mark set by the old Cooper S all those years earlier. But on the flip side, there wasn't a sniff of a hot Mini. After all, it was yesterday's news. It was a few more years before anybody within Austin Rover even thought about the Mini again. But as the car got older, it stopped being old and became characterful, chic, and an alternative small car to any of the usual suspects. But nowhere experienced this more than Japan. Austin Rover Japan realised there was a growing market for modified Minis, and many enthusiasts were beginning to import genuine Coopers from the 60s. They asked Austin Rover in the UK whether a new Cooper was a possibility, and the answer was a definitive no. But rather than accept defeat, they went directly to John Cooper, who duly obliged. He started offering a Janspeed design tuning kit for the 998cc Minis that would bump the power up to 64 brake horsepower, making a little 1 litre Mini noticeably quicker than a 1.3 litre Metro. The news of these kits spread quickly around the world, with a few in the UK converting their brand new Minis into Coopers. But hopes of a genuine factory Cooper weren't dead. In 1986, Graham Day was appointed chairman of Austin Rover, and he had a very different view of the company to his predecessors. For decades, the volume segment of the company had failed to make consistent profits, while the more expensive Rovers and Triumphs had kept the money flowing in. Therefore, Austin Rover would become simply the Rover Group, and would prioritise moving slightly upmarket with smarter and more individual models. So here is where the Cooper comes in. If people were willing to pay for Cooper conversion kits, then they were willing to pay for a full car. And in keeping with this Roverisation policy, a new Mini Cooper would be an individual product, having a halo effect on the Mini range and pulling it completely out of the economy market. The first step was to make the conversion kits available from your local Rover dealer with full warranties. They previewed what was coming with the Flame Red and Racing Green, but in July 1990, as a limited edition, the Mini Cooper was back. Rover would only make 1,650 of them, and every single one was sold before they were even in the showroom. They're known as the RSP Mini Coopers. RSP standing for Rover Special Products, and they made the Mini scream character. Unlike any Cooper beforehand, there was no mistaking this for any run-of-the-mill Mini. While many 80s Minis had subdued grey bumpers and trim, the Cooper came in all guns blazing. From every angle, there's something telling you what it is. The new Coopers were only available in 3 colours: black, British Racing Green and Flame Red, and they all had white roofs and bonnet stripes featuring John Cooper's signature. To add to the colour scheme, a Mini Light style alloy wheels, which for decades were the most popular aftermarket wheel, but here they were as factory fit. Then there's the full complement of chrome in the grille, bumpers and door handles, plus the set of spot lamps for that rally car vibe. But in case those hints weren't enough, Rover managed to cram 7 Cooper badges into 10 feet of Mini, and none of them are on the wheels. First are the signatures I've already mentioned and the badge on the steering wheel. Then we have laurel wreaths on the boot lid and at the ends of the coach lines, taking the traditional Cooper lettering and fusing it with a wreath, symbolising the countless motorsport victories of the original. But at the front is the centrepiece. Our first sight of the winged badge that now identifies the Mini as a mark of its own. The wings weren't an invention though. They were a nod back to Austin and Morris, who both used them on many of their cars through the decades, the Mini included. But I'd suppose the thing we're all interested in is what's beneath the badge. The Mini finally had back its 1275 CCA series, and though the intake does unfortunately cover the top of the engine, this is a slightly detuned version of the MG Metro's engine, with smaller valves to run unleaded fuel and a catalytic converter, bringing power down to 61 brake horsepower. Really, it's not an awful lot of power, but it is a whole 50% up on a standard Mini of the day, and more than an original standard Cooper. Not that it's an excuse, because it didn't take long for Janspeed and Cooper to develop an S tuning kit, bringing the power up to around 90 brake horsepower, far more than any original Cooper S, and just a shade under that of the turbocharged A-Series in the Metro Turbo and incredibly rare Mini Turbo. But the power wasn't really the be-all and end-all. It was quicker than a normal Mini, and that's all that mattered. Much more important was the styling, because it made the Cooper look fast. All the mainstream Minis look pedestrian in comparison, though it wasn't the Cooper that started this, but the Mini 30. This limited edition of 1989 was the one that brought back the chrome and began to play on people's nostalgia, with its own set of Mini Light wheels and rich metallic colours. In fact, The Mini 30 was the basis for the RSP Cooper, and the clearest place to see this is inside. The 30 and Cooper shared their half leather trim, a first in a Mini, and even leather gaiters for the gear lever and handbrake, a red leather wrapped steering wheel and red carpets. But in the best Mini traditions, there's still next to no equipment. There's a rev counter, but just a stereo radio cassette and the thrum of an A-series to keep you entertained. So here is one of 1,650 Mini Coopers. But as they sold with the click of your fingers, this car showed Rover the avenue they needed to follow. For 1991, the Cooper was back as a mainstream model, and it almost immediately became the best-selling Mini. Fast forward 30 years, and the allure of the Cooper name has made it inseparable from the Mini. But going back to 1990, nobody could have foreseen the impact this car would have. While Rover itself may have been on top of the world with some brilliant new models, this path would lead the Mini to become a mark all of its own, encourage BMW to buy the Rover Group in 1994, and forge a path as an all-new, but just as chic character car that took the 21st century by storm. And on that note, thank you very much for watching. As I mentioned, this car is currently for sale at Stockley Classics, so if you fancy getting your hands on a genuinely important piece of global motoring history, then please do follow the link in the description. And if you enjoyed the video, click like and subscribe to TwinCam as well. I'm forever indebted to my wonderful Patreon supporters, so if you'd like to support me that way, then please do follow the link down below too, and I'll have more videos coming along soon.